Hello everybody, my name is Jennifer Maker. Today I am showing you how to make custom cake toppers on the Great Maker Show and Tell. So my family loves cake, and it's not surprising that I used to bake and decorate cakes, but those days are long behind me at this point. So when I am responsible for the cake at a family celebration, that usually means that I'm picking up a store-bought cake. What can I say? And sadly, store-bought cakes are kind of boring, especially when you get the ones from the deli case an hour before the party starts. Sure, you can buy some decorations, but those are generic and kind of boring too, aren't they? But you know what does make any cake look magnificent? A custom cake topper, which are totally on trend these days. And you can make one yourself quite easily, really. In fact, it takes less time to make one than it takes to get in the car and go to Kroger to buy a cake. I'm not even kidding you. Now, you probably have everything that you already need to make a cake topper right now. Just a few sheets of cardstock, some bamboo skewers, and some glue. And that's it. It's so easy. You'll want a way to cut your cake topper, of course, and you can totally use scissors or a craft knife to do it, but I am using my Cricut machine, my Cricut cutting machine, because it's way faster and I love using technology to make my life easier. I've even made some cake topper designs for you to use, like these here, and as well as a template so you can make a topper with whatever name or saying you want on it. So let's head on over to my blog at jennifermaker.com so I can show you where you can find the free cake topper designs and template, and then I will show you how to customize and assemble your cake topper. Your first step is to get my free DIY cake topper design and template. I keep all of these things over on my blog at jennifermaker.com. You go to the red bar at the top and you click on that and then choose Enter the Library. If you don't have a password, you can request one free. Once you're in the library, the fastest way to find this project is to search the page. Press Command F or Control F, and then type in cake topper. You'll find it right here, and you click on this file that says SVG DXF PDF to download it. It'll download to your computer, and you just open it up to unzip it. For step 2, you need to prepare your cake topper for cutting. I'm going to use my Cricut for cutting this project, so let's go to Cricut Design Space. Here we have a new canvas all ready to go for our design. To upload the file that you just downloaded, click on Upload, Upload Image, Browse, and find the cake topper. And you want the SVG file, and click Open. And then click Save. And once it's uploaded to your account, select it and then click Insert Images. I'll make this screen a little smaller. So there's 4 different designs in here. Make a Wish, Best Day Ever, Celebrate, and then a blank one that's a template for you to put any name or phrase that you want in it. So let me show you how you do that. Let's first ungroup everything so that each element is by itself. Regardless of which one you use, you want to decide if it's the right size for you. Right now, all of these designs are sized for an 8-inch cake. So if you want something smaller or bigger, you'll just need to resize it. Let me show you how to do that briefly. Let's go ahead and remove everything except this one in the corner, which of course is our template. And if we wanted to say, make this a little bit bigger, all we really need to do is click on the resize handle at the bottom when everything is selected, and you click and drag the resize handle until you have it the size you want. Keep in mind it should not go any bigger than the size of your cutting mat. So the maximum is going to be 11.5 inches, which would be a very big cake topper. But hey, if you get a big cake, go for it. But we're going to do ours for the 8-inch size. So I'm going to click here and undo that. And that size is 8 inches. Now, let me show you how you can put a custom name or phrase into this template and have it cut out and look amazing. First, I want you to know that there are 3 different elements to this cake topper. There is this one, and then there's the second one here, which is identical, and then there's this ring. The ring is used, and it's optional, but it's used for putting the bamboo skewers in so that you don't have to glue it to the underside. And one, that means you don't have to glue it, but also it means that you can slide the bamboo skewers out when you're done and save your cake topper as a keepsake. Let's set this aside for now. We don't have to modify that at all. We really just have to worry about these 2. And in fact, these 2 are going to end up being exactly the same, so it's okay to get rid of one of them right now. Okay, so we're just going to work with this one. I'll make the screen a little bigger so you can see. Now, let's say I want to put my daughter's name, Alexa, into the inside of this pretty wreath. The way that we do that, or any name, any phrase, click on text over on the left side and type in the word or the phrase that you want. So I'm going to type in Alexa. And we get the standard font. I'm going to click and drag it up into approximate position. And then I'm going to resize it so that it's touching on both sides. Now, this is not a good font to use for this project because what we want is a font that's completely connected from side to side, letter to letter. And while the A on this side is connected and the A on this side is connected, in other words, it's overlapping the sides, the L, the E, and the X are not. So we're looking for a script font in order to do this properly. And the way that you change the font is you go up to the font menu right here, and there's lots of fonts to choose from. You can literally just type in the word script and you'll get all sorts of choices here. But you want ones that have connected letters. So this one called Cartoon Script is not appropriate for this project because the letters don't touch. Neither is Underscript. However, something like Signature Script would be fine, as would Yulsa Script, right? Some of these are maybe in my system. I'm not sure if they're all Cricut fonts. I would like to use a really pretty cursive font, and that is called Magnolia Sky. I think that's it. Let's type that in. Magnolia Sky. Yes. So this is a font that I got from dafont.com, and it's a free font. If you're not familiar with how to download fonts and upload them to your computer so that you can use them in Cricut Design Space, I have a whole tutorial on how to do that, which I will link in the video description so that you can look it up. All right, so we're going to do Magnolia Sky, and I'm selected it to this. All right, so that's very pretty, but Jennifer, I thought you said that the font had to touch. All the letters have to touch. Well, they do. Right now they don't, but we can make them touch. So we need to get these letters much closer together so that the little line here on the L meets the E, and the line on E meets the X, and the X meets the A, and so on. The way we do this is to go up to our letter space menu and change the letter space. We want to make it smaller. So I'm going to start by just putting in 0. See how close we get. That's better. And then there's also these little arrows. Then we can go ahead and click the arrows to bring them in a little bit smaller increments. I'm just trying to get them to just touch, which is pretty close right there. Still not quite right, of course, but really close. I'm going to resize this so it's closer in this. Well, this A is kind of, there we go. So you can see the problem with it, I hope, which is that the A is not connected, and the L and the E right here, the connection's not very good. We can fix this. You go up to Advanced, and you do Ungroup to Letters. Now, each of these letters can be individually moved around, which is perfect. Let's undo both of those moves. So first, let's connect the A to the L. And we can literally just move it up like this. Or we can make it a little bigger like this. Or we can also use a lowercase a. I'm going to click on this and type in a lowercase a because that might actually connect a lot better. It's completely your choice. You may want to play around with it, but I think that looks really nice. Okay, And the L is not quite in the right position, so let's move that over. All right, so now we have the A touching the L, touching the E, touching the X, touching the A, which is touching the side here. But this side's not touching. We need to fix that. So I'm going to select everything here and move it down. And then I'm going to select just my letters. So I have all 5 of my letters selected right now. And then I'm going to go down and click Weld. Weld is very important. It's crucial that you do this whenever you're working, whenever you've ungrouped letters, or especially when you're working with script fonts. Because otherwise, all the edges will cut, and you don't want them to do that. You want them all to flow together beautifully. So we're going to click on Weld, and it's going to turn it into a single object, which you can see over in the Layers panel here on the right. So let's move our wreath back up here into position. All right, so now we're looking much better, but we need Alexa to be touching both sides of the wreath so that when it cuts, it's all connected. Nothing is floating in the middle of the air, because that's not going to happen. So to do this, we're just going to click on the word. We're going to click and drag it over to the side so that the A just overlaps the side of the wreath there. And then we're going to use our resize handle to click and drag it so that the line on the A overlaps the other side of the wreath. And we can move it around until we feel like that's a good spot. And I like this spot right here. All right, so we have our design. And but before you do anything else, I want you to make a copy of the name or the phrase that you made. So we're going to right click it and choose duplicate so that we have this because we need the extra copy to put on top in case you want to use a glitter paper or a fancier paper. Now this is optional. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to do it in this example so you can see. And I think it's a good idea. I mean, this word or this name is the focal point of our design, and it's nice if you put it in a little different color for contrast or a fancier paper to really highlight it. All right, so we'll just move this down here next to the ring. All right, so now what we have is our name and our wreath design. And I want you to select both of those, and we need to weld them together so they become one piece. So we're going to click on Weld again. Now I want you to duplicate this because I want you to cut it twice. Having 2 of these wreaths glued together will make your cake topper more structurally sound. It won't be so floppy or, want to fall over in the breeze if you've got at least 2 layers. You're welcome to do more, but 2 is totally sufficient. All right, and we just need to make sure that we have everything the same color before we go to cut it out, unless, of course, we're doing things in a different color. Make this a little smaller. So right now we have 2 wreaths with Alexa in them. We have 1 Alexa name in a different color and 1 ring that's the same color as our wreaths. Right now this is pretty good. I think that I'm going to do it in pink, however. So I'm going to change my wreaths and my ring to a pink color. And by the way, if ever you don't like the color choices they give you, you can click on Advanced and choose a pink here. Like this. Okay, and then I'm going to cut Alexa in a pretty pink glitter cardstock that I have. So I'm going to give it a different color so that I'm reminded to use a different paper when I go to actually cut it. And I'll just make it a little darker pink. There we go. If you want to double check that it looks good, you can put everything on top of everything else right into position and bring that to the top, send to front, and there we go. This is what it will look like when it's all done, which will be very pretty. Now we can go ahead and click Make It because it's all ready to go. It separates out into our mats, starting with our glitter color or whatever contrasting color we're going to use. And then we have our 3 mats for our wreaths and our ring. And that's really all you need to know. We can go ahead and click Continue. Now I want to make a note that if you're using both cardstock and something like glitter cardstock or craft board, you can change your material in the process of cutting. And I want to show you how to do that. So let's start out. Let's say we're going to do these first, and we're going to change it. We're going to choose medium cardstock because it's just regular cardstock. So we can go ahead and cut these out right now. These 3 we can cut out with medium cardstock. And then when it's time to do the 4th one that we want to do in glitter, we can come in here, right? We don't have to go all the way back and change it. We can literally just click here to change it to glitter before we press the button on our Cricut to cut it out. Just in case you didn't know that. So you can change your material at any time before you press that start button. All right, let's go cut this out. Step 3 is to cut out your cardstock. Now you just cut out your various cardstock layers. Now every layer can be the same color as I mentioned, or you can choose a different contrasting color for your phrase or name to help it stand out, which is what I'm doing here. As a reminder, I recommend you cut 2 of the wreath layers and 1 of the sentiment layer in the desired cardstock or glitter paper or whatever other fancy paper you want to use. If you're cutting the sentiment only to use as a topper, definitely cut 2 layers of the sentiment. The double layers add stability to the cake topper. Really, at the minimum, you want 2 layers, and 2 layers is fine. Once your cardstock is cut, unload your mat, flip your mat over onto your work surface, and very gently remove it by peeling your mat away from your project. This will help minimize curling and bending and tearing. Go slow though, because the wreaths are a little fragile and you don't want to accidentally rip a leaf off. Step 4 is to attach your cake topper layers. So using spray adhesive or glue, you just attach the layers together. I recommend you start with the 2 wreaths and then add your name or your sentiment on top of the 2 wreath layers. Step 5, add bamboo skewers. Now you have 2 options for attaching the skewers, which are necessary for the cake topper to stand atop your cake, because the skewers will actually go right into the cake so that your topper can suspend above it. Now you can either glue the skewers to the back of your cake topper, or you can glue the optional ring, the cardstock ring, to the back and slide your skewers through the holes in the rings. Gluing the skewers is probably a little bit stronger, so if it's going to be moved around a lot or a little windy, you probably will want to glue it. But using the ring with the holes means that you can remove the skewers when the party is over and keep it flat as a keepsake. It's totally your choice. I prefer to use the little rings and the skewers, and it actually is really pretty stable. It doesn't slide up and down them or anything like that. And who doesn't like to save these when you're done? Because they're so cute. No one wants to throw them away. So try the rings, and if you really don't like that, you could glue them, but I think you'll like the rings. And here is our finished cake topper. Isn't it super cute? By the way, this cake was made by Alexa. She made this cake so that we could take photos of the cake topper. She doesn't know that I made this cake topper for her. I get to surprise her with that tomorrow when we actually eat the cake. But this is the cake that she made. And I believe it's a pink cake. Although I don't know what flavor pink cake is. Maybe it's strawberry. I guess we will find out tomorrow. I also bought a chocolate cake because I love chocolate, and I need another cake so I can show you the other cake topper. That's right. That's totally my excuse. So now we have a chocolate cake and a strawberry cake. 2 cakes in the house. It's a little dangerous, guys, but they look so pretty with the cake toppers. If I could, I would invite you all over to help me eat all of this cake. See? Cake toppers are totally amazing and so much easier to make than you might have thought when you first saw them. And you could whip up one of these really awesome and lovely toppers in just a few minutes. And everyone will think that you custom ordered your cake, and hey, maybe you did. Maybe you baked it yourself with love. More power to you if you did. And a custom cake topper will make it even better. Now, if you have any questions at all about making or customizing cake toppers, please leave your question below this video or come on over to my Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. There's a ton of women like yourselves with lots of ideas and advice to offer. If you still need Cricut so that you can cut your cake toppers faster, I've got a Cricut giveaway going on right now, and you can enter at jennifermaker.com/Cricut giveaway. Get all the details over there. And don't forget you can upload a photo and get bonus entries. And that's it for today. Tomorrow I'll be back to show you how you can personalize and decorate pot holders and oven mitts with iron-on vinyl, which make excellent and inexpensive gifts. Remember, I'm always interested in your project ideas. If you can tell me what you want to make, I can totally show you how to make it. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.